Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Keela Fowler back for 85 Beauty Talks. Today is, well, I just said it's Monday. It doesn't feel like Monday. I'm losing track of the days. I'm officially on summer, so it's getting a little confusing. The days kind of blend together. However, I'm glad you're here. So, we're gonna do some summer makeup and we're gonna talk about racism because we're still living this life. And I was thinking that we were gonna just do like return to normalcy. We were going to just do like 15-minute makeup tips, and then, well, your feedback said otherwise. You all really seem to enjoy last week's conversation about white privilege and makeup, and so I am going to speak a little more freely. I don't have notes today. Shocker. And we're going to get into it. So, if you are new, welcome. 85 Beauty is all about kicking intimidation to the curb and making makeup feel easy and accessible for all people. And I'm telling you right now, some of these companies are not making makeup feel easy or accessible for any of us. And some companies, just in general, that have nothing to do with makeup, are not making anything feel easy or accessible for some of us. So that's real. We're going to talk about Anthropologie. It's going to happen. I'm fired up. I have so many thoughts. I have so many thoughts, and I don't understand what seems to be the problem with some of these companies. So, first off, let me share this out. I do this every single time. So we're going to share this so that everyone who wants and needs to get the notification, like, hey, we're live, I'm going to make sure that everybody gets that. And then we're going to get right into the makeup. So, I'm going to try to do this simultaneously. So, I'm going to first tell you about the first thing that we're going to put on, and also use my typing hand to get into sharing this out. So, we are going to put on sunscreen. This is the Neutrogena Clear Face Breakout Free Liquid Lotion Sunscreen. I don't know why they make these titles so long. I don't know. It's strange. It's complicated. But I like this one. It's very good. I accidentally put on too much the other day and had to keep blending. I put on a little too much. If you put on the proper amount, you don't have any issues. It isn't going to be a complicated, it's not going to give you a white cast or any kind of purple kind of sheen to it, which is what a lot of sunscreens will do on black skin if you're unfamiliar. So that's not something that I ever worry about with this unless I put on too much. I squeezed and I didn't do it right. So oops. So I'll show you the proper amount to put on and we will get right into it. Everything is shared. Good to go. Let's roll. All right, if you're here in the comments, tell me where you're watching from, even if you're watching on the replay, if you're watching on IGTV, wherever you're watching. This is the proper amount. I already put on my moisturizer, so if you're wondering about order of skincare, I already did all of my skincare. I put on my moisturizer about an hour ago, and so now I'm going to put on my sunscreen. And this sunscreen I actually like to use as a, what's the word I'm looking for? As a primer. I don't always put primer over top of this. This makeup wears really nicely on top of this. So you can use primer if you'd like to, but you do not have to. So I am, look at that, right? It's just, it does give your skin a bit of a sheen and glow, but it's nothing, it doesn't change the color of your skin, which is important to me. And SPF 55, so that's always good. Sorry, this bracelet makes all the noise. I like jewelry that jingles, but I can imagine that being super obnoxious for you. So we're gonna move past that. Okay, so let's talk about summer makeup and racism at the same time, we're going to be jumping in and out of lots of topics. I don't know how long this is going to be. Typically, what I like to do is I just do my makeup and I talk to y'all. And when the makeup's done, then we're done. So if I can go quickly, I will. But I don't want to rush really relevant conversation. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to just make it happen. So first thing that comes with summer makeup is making sure that you are wearing sunscreen. You're supposed to wear sunscreen year round. Like, the sun's still out there all the time doing things. So by all means, don't ignore that. But definitely, when you know that you're going to be in the sun, you want to make sure you are sunscreening it up like you mean it all the time. If you're just joining, make sure you say hello. Tell me where you're watching from. It's really cool to hear, and especially if you're new, because there's some friends who are new to the community, so welcome. But let me know where you learned about 85 Beauty, because all sorts of people have been really generous in sharing about 85 Beauty, and I'm finding myself going, oh, you're new? Where'd you come from? So I'm going to be, oh cool, I'm going to be using primarily concealer instead of foundation, and I'm going to tell you why that is. When it comes to summer, the last thing that I want is a ton of makeup on my face. Like, I'm just not interested. I sweat a lot. And the more makeup on my face, the more that it's just like it's a whole situation. You know what I'm saying? So when you're like, first of all, a lot of people will try to wipe sweat off. Tip from me to you, don't wipe, tap. Tap. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's have paper towels off to the side. A lot of people, when they are like, whoa, it's hot, don't do that, because what you're also doing, especially when you have makeup on, is you are smearing your makeup everywhere. Because what's happened is that now that it has the help of sweat, it's kind of like a floaty in a pool. Like, it is ready to move with the waves. So what you want to do instead is you want to just press and tap when you're sweating. That's all you got to do, right? All the way around in all the areas. And you'll see the makeup. I don't have anything on, but you'll see the makeup pick up onto the paper towel. So just kind of keep moving to other free areas. Yeah, Nicole, hi! It matters. It makes a huge difference. And then you don't end up looking, you know what you won't end up looking like? You won't end up looking like it's 2 a.m. and they just said like last call when you're out dancing with the girlfriends for a really long time. And then the lights come on and you're like, ooh, is that what we look like? Dang, I didn't know, because that's happened. If that's never happened to you, you either have not been having enough fun in your life, or you had better skills than I did when I was 22. What? It's true. Okay. So I'm using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I'm going to use my Beauty Blender. And I'm just going to start with concealer. This is another, I'm going to give you guys so much information today. Another thing that happens, I was having this conversation with friends the other day, and I think I mentioned it in last week's video. But what happens is you will see it on YouTube videos. You will see it, especially in magazines. Magazines are notorious for this. When somebody's like, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? They're like, oh, just a little concealer. And you're like, what? Does your skin actually look like that? Some people just have really great skin. A lot of them, though, they are lying. And what I mean when I say they're lying is that they're wearing concealer, but it's not a little bit, right? They have concealer under the eye, like I just did. They also are going to have like concealer over here and concealer over there and concealer everywhere. And they're using concealer as foundation, but they're not going to say that. They're going to say like, oh, just a dab of concealer. Lies. All the lies. So the next time that you hear somebody or you read that in a magazine or something, please understand that they do mean that they are only using concealer, but they are using concealer everywhere. They're just not telling you. So no longer do you have to feel bad like, oh my gosh, well, when I just put concealer under my eyes, I don't look the same. That's because they're not just putting it under their eyes. They're putting it on their eyes. They're putting it on their cheekbones. They're putting it around their nose. Anywhere that they have a blemish, anywhere there's discoloration, any and everywhere there is concealer all over their face used as foundation, but they're just not telling you that part. And so it makes you feel inferior, like you're screwing it up somehow when you're not. They just haven't been telling you the truth. Now you know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm adding just a bit of concealer. See how I did that? The lies, deception. Okay, so do we want to get into anthropology like right now? Do you want to just like jump into that thing? Because I think we have to. Okay. So anthropology, it has come out. I just saw it not too long. Like I saw it maybe 3 hours ago, and I'm just. At first I was like, no, and then I was like, another one bites the dust. And then I got pissed. Like I got really, really upset because I have loved anthropology for a really long time. And I have spent many a spring break going to anthropology with my friend Holly for our like annual visit. I go to see her in DC. We go to anthropology. I allow myself to buy all of the pretty things. I have a lot of anthropology bowls and glasses, like drinking glasses, and I want to smash it all. I just want to break it all because they broke their contract of being who I thought they were. So this is one of the things that happens. If you are unaware, I'm going to give you some inside information of what it means to be Black for many people. And I want to make clear that I am not the Black representative for the world or the makeup industry or anyone. I am a Black woman who has experiences, and I'm happy to share experiences with you and let you know my point of view. And it's very real that others may not feel the same as I do, and that's okay. There is no like one lived experience and everybody has the same opinion. That's not how it works. The same way that I don't believe that every non-Black person has the same opinion. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that all police officers have the same opinions or the same views. I don't believe that to be true about any group unless you choose to be a, you know, like a white supremacist group, in which, yeah, that's based on your ideals, isn't it? But beyond that, I believe that, you know, things are individual. I was raised to treat people the way that you want to be treated, and also to take each person like as an individual, right? Somebody might have a problematic parent, but they're cool. So we just try to not spend any time around their parent, and you're fine. So anthropology, it has come out that apparently they made like comments about like standing with the Black community and Black Lives Matter, et cetera, et cetera. You know, they're jumping on the bandwagon. And then other people came out to say, oh, really? Because you all have had racial profiling that's like company-wide. And I've worked at this location and this location, this location, and we've been told and taught to follow Black people around. And we refer to them as Nicks or Nickies. And when someone Black comes into the store, we follow them. And I'm like, oh. Now, this is where it gets fun because I'm an elementary school teacher, and what I know to be true is that, you know, when you like ask a kid something and they tell you a story, you're like, okay, thanks so much. Like, I appreciate that. If you go and you ask some of the other kids individually what their stories are, you then get a better, more like well-rounded understanding of the full story of what's happening. Okay? So I put on I'm just going to like take a pause, tell you what's happening. I just put on loose powder. I always use loose powder in the year round, but especially in the summer because like sweat, oil, all the things, you want to lock that stuff in. Now we're going into bronzer. what is going to happen in the summer is you are changing color. You probably already started and you didn't realize it because it got hot and nice outside and you started going outside. Even in COVID, people are like, give me the sunshine. So you probably started tanning without paying attention to that you started tanning, and your foundation is starting to no longer match your face. Your concealer is starting to no longer match your face. I'm telling you that now so that you can start to do something about it before everybody else can see that it no longer matches your face. Whoa. Because that happens. It's not a cute moment for you when you're like, ooh. And it often happens when like someone takes a picture and you don't see it on the phone. You see it after they post it on social media and you're tagged. And then you're like, whoa, whoa. Like this doesn't match this. And you can see it plain as sight. And you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't anybody tell me? How come I didn't see that? Yeah. So what you need to do right now, like right now, go ahead and buy the next foundation shade or next concealer shade that is like one shade darker. Just do that now. And believe in your bronzer. Like bronzer is going to be your summer saving grace of helping you transition and reconcile those two shades, because you're not necessarily going to be at the darkest shade yet. You're getting there. So what you're going to do instead is you are going to start making sure that you are putting on your bronzer, because like your foundation may still be like may start to be too light, but as you bronze it up, it's going to like get it to a place where it's the right shade without you even having to switch into your next foundation shade yet. So bronzer is going to help with that transition as your skin is literally changing day to day until it kind of settles into its deepest shade. Okay? Now you know. Allie! I didn't know that you're here. It doesn't always say, I'm telling you, like, Facebook doesn't always tell me when people are here. Is that because there's more oil in the base? Oh, Nicole, what were you asking that about? More oil in the base of what? Oh, no. Nicole, if you can tell me what that question was about, I will happily answer it. I just didn't see, like, the comments didn't come through. Okay. So, I'm bronzing. Let's get back to Anthropologie. Okay, so they said, right. So they put out a statement. They're like, no, we don't do that. That's not a thing. But if you talk to the other kids in class, right, if you look at the comments of many people who have worked for the company or currently work for the company, they're all telling the same story. And I promise you, they didn't have a play date first so that they could work out what story they were going to tell. Like, where there's smoke, there's fire. This is real. Like, I'm just calling it. There's no way in the world that I'm going, like, I just don't believe it. There's no way. White people like to do that a lot, by the way. Not all white people. Like, we already had the disclaimer. We already talked about how everyone's an individual, but if we are talking in generalities, as we are talking about racism, which we are, what I need you to understand is that white people like to explain things away because it feels bad. You feel guilty. You want to get the stink of racism off of you, and you're like, well, there must be more to it. There has to be another story. Well, I'm sure that would make you feel better, but if you've been followed around for no good reason, you might want people to believe your story too. So just consider that. Act accordingly. Okay, Nicole, about the concealer versus foundation. Oil in the base. Oh, about like why it's concealer versus foundation. Oh, and people are like just putting on a little bit of concealer? Is that what you mean? Or about like why you're starting to get darker. I'm not sure. Please give me more information. I'm here. I'm ready. I want to help. There's a delay with the comments. Oh, Allie, I think you're right. There is a delay, and that's why I'm confused about life. So, what is happening now is I'm going to tell you, why it doesn't come off. Oh, gotcha. Like when you're, right. The reason that your makeup, if you should always layer when it comes to makeup. And this is something that I do all the time. And I try to be explicit about talking about it, but I sometimes get excited and I forget to tell you all of the pieces. So when you are doing makeup, you want to layer. If you want your makeup to last, layering is the answer. So there's a reason that I put on concealer and then I put on loose powder, then I put on bronzer. What will happen a lot of times, especially if you have a drier skin type, a lot of people who have dry skin prefer creams because they are more moisturizing. And you like the dewiness of the texture of the products. And that's great. However, if you are a drier skin type and you're sweaty, you want to layer. If you are oily, you always want to layer. Just across the board, layer stuff up. The more layers that you put on, the harder it is for it to like dissipate, to wash off, to get wiped off, to get smeared off, the whole thing. So it really doesn't have anything to do with why it doesn't come off. What it is like it's just like anything else. Like if you were to, have you ever worn like body bronzer and you rubbed against someone, you're like, oh, and you got somebody's shirt dirty? It's not the same as if you had pressed against them. If you rub, it's going to transfer more easily than if you press. So pressing is going to be the least amount of transfer. Rubbing is going to be the most amount of transfer. So when you press, you're going to keep as much makeup possible still on your face. There we go. Okay. Yes, with white people explaining racism away. This is real. Yes. It maintains our social status when we can disprove these stories. It's an insidious garbage white person thing. Agreed. I did not do primer, Allie. I just used my sunscreen by Neutrogena, and I used it as a primer. So that is one step that you can skip. If I knew I was going, and even if I knew I was going to be out in the sun, unless, I mean, I might use the Cover FX gripping primer because it really does help kind of lock and hold things into place. But I want to be intentional when it's going to be hot summer weather about putting products that are going to layer that will help with the overall effect of makeup, but nothing that is going to be excessive. So it's a balancing act, and that's what I need to do a better job of making clear. So thank you for your comments. It's super helpful. So when you are trying to get your makeup to last without it being super heavy, for example, brow pencil is going to wipe away really fast. And if you're hot and sweaty, it's really easy to go like this. And I sometimes do that and I'm like, oh, well, my eyebrow's now on the back of my hand like a fool. I always do that. So what you want to do is if you can use a brow gel, that will help lock it in place. If you can use like a brow pen, it's going to add a little bit more texture to your brow, which one will give you a little bit more of a heightened effect. Not heightened as in high in terms of the length of your brow, but in terms of the visibility. And then it will also, this is a lot harder to wipe off. So you want to think of longevity of products. When it comes to mascara, because I know this is going to come up and I don't want to forget, I do not believe in using waterproof mascara all the time. And if you feel like you need it because it's better for holding a curl for your lashes that don't curl, I recommend putting on a layer of regular mascara first and then locking it in with waterproof mascara. You can layer mascara. I do it all the time to get the look that I want because I typically want something that has length and something that has volume. And I rarely feel that there's one mascara that does both of those things really well. So instead, I will put on typically a lengthening mascara first, and then I'll pump up the volume with the second mascara. If you are intentional about not wanting your mascara to smear and you want to wear waterproof, what you'll do is put on your regular mascara first and then lock it in with a waterproof mascara. And it's kind of like think of it like putting a shower cap on before you go into the shower. It's just going to like protect everything. Didn't know that was possible. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Anthropologie. Let's get back. Oh gosh. I don't believe that they are, that people are making this up. I think it's absolutely true. And in my family, and I know this is not just my Black experience, I know there are a lot of Black people who do this, and you're probably seeing it happening on social media right now. And I had this conversation the other day about cancel culture, and I'm like, some of it, so there is a truth, I think, to the idea of cancel culture where people are so quick to kind of like end something and or somebody and not want to be involved anymore and want to tell other people not to be involved anymore. But growing up, if we went to a restaurant and somebody else was seated before us when we were there waiting and somebody else got served before us when we were there waiting, first of all, my parents were going to ask to speak to the manager, which as a kid, I was super embarrassed by that. Not because my parents were doing anything wrong, but because it was like, oh gosh, like here we go. Like it has to be a moment, right? Because the white people aren't having a moment, right? But as I have gotten older, I've paid attention and now I understand it's like, no, they're not going to stand for that level of mistreatment. They're going to speak up and say something about it. But we would also not go back. That was the end. Denny's messed up. We stopped going to Denny's. So did my grandparents. So did my aunts and uncles. Denny's was off the list. I'm talking about like in the 90s. So this wasn't cancel culture. This was, y'all screwed up. We're done. And it was that simple. You didn't get a second try. It wasn't like, oh, you were super racist, but you didn't mean it. Let's give you round two. No. It was, thank you for letting us know where you are and how you feel and where you stand, and bye-bye. Done. Easy peasy. So with that being said, Anthropologie. I'm upset because we had a really good relationship. Like, I was rooting for you. I now know that you were not rooting for me. And by default, the fact that you weren't rooting for my people means you weren't rooting for me. Like, that's the piece where I don't need to know a Black person in order to believe them. White people feel that way. Some of you feel like, well, I don't know them personally, so I'm not sure if they're telling the truth. What? Why is there always an assumption that someone's lying? Like, what life do you live that you automatically expect that someone is lying to you when they're telling you something awful that happened? Now, we all have those people in our lives who like to exaggerate, who like to make a story bigger than it's supposed to be. I'm going to use bronzer as eyeshadow. Let's do this. This is another really quick way to use minimal products, like not have a ton of stuff, especially if you're traveling in the summer and you want to be able to pack like a small makeup bag and be able to get in and out of the packing process as quickly as possible. I hate packing. So if you are coming from that place that you're like, I don't want to have 500 palettes and everything else to bring with me, using your bronzer as eyeshadow is one of my favorite tricks and tips, and it works on everyone because the bronzer that you are wearing is going to be a deep enough color for you. So it's awesome. So we're gonna bronze it up. Let's go. I was saying stuff. Yeah, we all have those people in our lives that just lie to us. Oh, I put on eyeshadow primer. Absolutely wearing eyeshadow primer in the summer all day, every day. Otherwise, it's not going to last. Your eyeshadow will not last. And if you're wondering, if you ever get that like line of like stuff right here on your eye, it's your eyeshadow bunching together and moving because the oils in your skin are messing around and picking up your eyeshadow and shifting everything around. That's why that happens. Eyeshadow primer helps prevent that from happening. I'm so into everything that's happening. Yeah, Nicole, I'm with you on that. So there's this like assumption that I see that people just expect people are lying when they say these types of stories, or when it's told that like somebody else was shot by police and they weren't doing anything wrong. People are like, no, can't be. No. Even right now. Like, I just saw, like, oh gosh, 3 different stories in the last 24 hours about, one about two black people being hung. Like, I was like, I can't. It's 2020, we're lynching. What is this like? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Which, like, the terror of that is, don't get me started. I can't even get into that. That's horrible. Horrible isn't enough of a word. Like, hatred is real. And black trans people being killed? Like, what are we doing? What is happening? But there's still, people just went out and like protested and marched for George Floyd and were like, Ahmaud Arbery, all he was doing was going for a jog, and Breonna Taylor, and all she was doing was sleeping in her bed, and people are signing petitions to get the officers who killed her arrested and charged, and yet still will be in disbelief when we tell you about more incidents that have happened in the last few hours or the last few days. And they're like, no, there has to be more. Listen. There is not more. The only more that there is understanding that there is more racism and hatred out there than you ever knew was imaginable. Understanding that there is more people who have unchecked bias than you ever thought. There are more people who are concerned about having self-sacrificing in order to do the right thing, to stand for life, for human life, than they are to be concerned about losing their job. They are more concerned about losing their job than potentially getting fired, wrongfully fired, for standing up for what they know to be right. And yet, that's where there's more to the story. But instead, people think that there's more to the story, that the black person had to have been doing something wrong. And let me tell you, the story that has been communicated to black people is that your very existence is what you are doing wrong. So let that sink in for a moment. I want you to ask yourself, we're going to curl lashes. I want you to ask yourself, have you, in any capacity, been made to feel, this isn't for the black people. This is for some people of color, but like not for all of you, because we all have our struggles, right? But have you had it communicated to you that your very existence is threatening, is scary, is problematic, needs to be exterminated, erased, gotten rid of? Has that been communicated to you? Because if it hasn't, you have no idea what it is like to feel that. And here's the other part of it. And we still live our lives joyfully. And it pisses people off. Right? If you think about any rom-com that you've watched, any chick flick, any movie where there's like the mean girl who's always a jerk to everybody, but she still gets the guy. And you're like, ugh, seriously? What is it with her? How does anybody even like her? How does she even have friends? What is that all about? How do they not see through her? Right? You get like all fired up about it. You're just like, ah, it's her again. All of that, right? Take all of that like frustration and anger and dislike. And I mean, it's just that when I'm watching a movie, but like take all of that stuff, right? Add like a big old scoop of hate to it. And that is what problematic white people feel for black people and other people of color when they see them thriving, when they see them happy, when they see them joyful, when they see them beautiful. Woo! They don't like that. The fear baked into the racist system helps perpetuate it. Yeah. But just imagine that. The very thing that you think is like awful and terrible and scary and threatening, and those people are thriving. Those people are happy. Those people are laughing. Those people are having cookouts. Oh my gosh. Those people are getting, like major deals for different sports companies and different tech companies, and they are in movies and winning awards. They are making effective change in their communities. They are getting to be politicians. They're speaking up. And people can't take it. Can't take it. And so instead, they do hateful things. And thankfully, at this point, a whole bunch of you can't take it anymore either. You can't take the hate anymore. You can't take being lumped in because you're like, no, I didn't think that I was racist, but I definitely want to be anti-racist because I don't want people to wonder where I stand anymore. That is the greatest thing I see happening right now. Those of you who before thought that like it was clear that you were on the right side of things or you felt like you were on the right side of things, you now want to make it very clear that like, don't lump me in with the racists. I am working to be anti-racist. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be misunderstood to be a part of that. No, thank you. That is exciting, effective change. It's very exciting. But I'm going to give you some tips, some more helpful hints, because I see people wanting to know, like, okay, like, what do I do next? What's the next step? What's the next stage? How do I have a positive impact? How do I stop getting into arguments with people who don't want to hear me, right? Like, how do I do this thing? First, we're going to put on some blush. I like to layer cream blush and powder blush, right? It's going to last longer, so we're going to go with some Honest Beauty cream blush first. And then I will put on a little bit of powder blush on top of it. And I want you to get kind of creative when you layer blush, because you can put on something that is like a little more pigmented, maybe a little deeper first. And then when you put something like bright on top, it like pops so pretty. So we're going to put on like this color. Whoa, it's blown out, this one. We're just going to tap that on. Oh, so pretty. Y'all, if you are, like, side note, if you are not having the makeup experience I'm having right now when you're putting on makeup, can we talk, please? Because you need to. Like, I think I've come to realize that people think that I am putting on like a show when I'm on here talking to you all. Then I'm like, oh my God, that's so pretty. I do that by myself. Like, if you're in 85 Beauty Society, you see it every time that I put on makeup because we're getting to my favorite product. Woo! Right? The Becca Skin Love Glow Glaze Stick. Oh gosh, it's so gorgeous. And I say that every single time I put this on. And every single time I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Look at that. Yes, this is what I do by myself. This is the experience that I have. These are the out loud reactions that I share. And I want you to feel that good about the makeup you're taking time to put on your face. It should make you feel like a boss. Like, if you don't put it on and go like, dang, doing it. It's happening. It's amazing. In whatever way that you have that like love of, I look freaking good, then we need to talk about how we can get you there. Because it's a waste of your time otherwise. Like, what's it all for? It should be a love experience. Because makeup is about joy and feeling like your most confident self. Yes, I feel confident without makeup, but when I put on makeup, I'm like, man, you can't stop me. I am making everything in this life happen. It's almost like a spiritual experience, man, but good makeup day. Can't tell me nothing. So, here's what y'all need to do. Stop talking to people who don't want to hear you. And start talking to the people who have to hear you. Here's what I mean by that. The people that love you, the people that are already in your circle, the people that you already spend time with, the ones that you have to work with, the ones that you collaborate with, the people that are already a part of your life. Those are the ones you should start talking with first. Don't spend your time talking to strangers on the internet. They don't know you. They don't give a crap. They don't care. Some of them do. Some of them are learning, right? There are a lot of people that are like looking out. They want to learn. They want it, right? But the same way that I have really deep, meaningful conversations with my friends and my family, and through that, I navigate how to find the best way of communicating those same thoughts to people who don't know me as well. And that I would have to maybe like give more background or more information or say it in a certain way that they would get it. You need to start having these conversations with the people that you already know that already care about you. Because for one, they're going to be more honest with you. And two, they're going to be more open to hearing what you have to say than some rando. That's just real. If you can start in your own circles having some of those difficult conversations, first of all, you get to have practice messing it up together. Like, that's such a nice, safe space for everybody to screw it up, to say the wrong thing, to like try to piece it back together. All of that can happen, and it's going to be a lot more okay and a lot less vulnerable because you already have that relationship. So start there. And then share some videos. Share my videos. Especially if they like makeup. Like, what needs to happen is there needs to be like a bridge, right? So I do makeup and talk to you all about these things that matter because you may not care as much about talking about Anthropologie and their racist policies, but you might really want to learn about the layering of the blush. I'll get you any way I can. Like, if that's what's going to resonate for you, then great. Because maybe you also heard something else that kind of hit home. And you're like, okay, all right. So start with the people that matter to you. That's a great place to go. Speaking of going, makeup's done. This is one of my favorite, like, everyday makeup looks. Remember, I talked through this for, like, I stopped and started. It doesn't take 45 minutes to do this makeup look. This is like a 10-minute done and done. Oh, it's so good. I wish you could see it in person. Like, I wonder if I turn the light off. Is that a little bit? Ooh, yeah, it does. This looks a little bit better without the light. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Do you see that gradient? Oh my gosh. Okay, I love a good makeup moment. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but we'll definitely be talking about makeup. Something tells me we will still be talking about racism in some way, shape, or form. Or we could be talking about something else. But I'm here. If you have comments, questions, let me know. Especially if you're watching the replay, let me know you're on #replay. And I will see you all next week. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe. Stay alert. Stay vigilant. Black Lives Matter. Bye, y'all.